My friends, what's going on everyone? My name is Kai, thanks for stopping by, really appreciate it. So, I hope you're well. Guys, welcome to my new video series, Video Game Memories. This is a show where I talk about some of my favorite memories from when I was a kid growing up and into adulthood. I've got a lot of great memories, a lot of bad memories, but I've got a lot of stories from my childhood and I'm really excited to share them with you. Today we're talking about Pokemon Stadium. Excellent game, excellent game. There's so much to say about Pokemon Stadium. So, first and foremost, I have a great story to tell you guys. And I think that a lot of you will be able to resonate with this story, and I think that this exact story has probably happened to a lot of you. So obviously when Pokemon Stadium was coming out on the Nintendo 64, it was a big deal, you know? Seeing Pokemon in 3D for the very first time, being able to bring over your Game Boy games onto the N64, and like that was absolutely mind-blowing back in the day. So obviously every single kid wanted it. It was at the height of Pokemon fever. It was crazy. And you could not buy this game. You could not buy this game. This game was sold out everywhere. And for the first like 6 months, it was next to impossible to find this game. So a lot of people had to resort to renting the game. Like myself, when I was young, my family didn't buy me a lot of games. We weren't rich or anything. But I would get a game on Christmas, and I would get a game on my birthday. But in between that, Blockbuster was still, you know, reigning supreme and everything like that. So as long as I was good at school for the weeks, I was a little bit of a troublemaker. I didn't bully anyone, but I was a class clown. So I had all the attention on me. So as long as I was good in school for that week, and I didn't get into any trouble, my parents would let me rent a video game. And Pokemon Stadium, when it came out, for me was obviously the game to rent, right? But it was never available. There was only maybe 4 copies in our store, and they were always rented out. And then I remember this one time, on a Saturday, I went down to the Blockbuster right early in the morning, right when they opened up, and I asked them, hey, do you guys have a Pokemon Stadium? And they said no, but there are 2 rentals that are due today, and maybe they'll come back today. And I was like, okay, no problem. So what I did was I actually sat with my friend outside of the Blockbuster, guarding the return box, the drop box. And then whenever anybody would come in and drop it off, I would run inside and, oh, is there Pokemon here now? Is there Pokemon here? No, there's not Pokemon here. All we have is Indiana Jones. God. And yeah, so all day long on that Saturday, I sat there and I waited, and every single person that brought the stuff back, I went up and I harassed them. Is this Pokemon? Is this Pokemon? And all day, it got to the very end of the day, right? And I was like almost heartbroken. But I was thinking to myself, well, they are due today, so at some point they will show up, right? They didn't show up. And my mind was absolutely blown on, but it was due today. What do you mean they didn't show up? It was due today. I couldn't comprehend the idea of somebody holding the game for a little bit longer, which we'll get into in a moment. But yeah, I couldn't understand that. So the very next day, I went back to the Blockbuster and I did the exact same thing. Luckily enough, though, I was able to secure a copy on Sunday. I remember it was about a half an hour before I had to go back home. And I remember it was available. I was able to rent it. I called my parents down because I was young, right? I couldn't rent it on my own. But when it was available, I called my parents because we just lived up the street from the Blockbuster, and they came down. They rented it for me. Excellent. I got to play it, and we rented it for a week. And what we ended up doing was my parents wanted to get me that game for Christmas or my birthday. I don't remember which it was, but it was coming up to the time where my parents were going to get me a gift, right? And I really wanted Pokemon Stadium. And they looked around like everywhere for it, and they could not find it. So what they ended up doing is they ended up calling Blockbuster and just telling Blockbuster that they lost it, right? Because they figured, well, we don't need to go and look for it. We already have it here. Even if Blockbuster charges us like the full amount of the game, that's fine because we would have bought it anyway, but we already have it here. And you got to remember too, we wouldn't have gotten the box for it. We wouldn't have gotten the box or the instruction manual, but that didn't really matter back in the 90s. That really didn't matter back in the 90s. Most of the time when you got an N64 game, it's in a cardboard box, you'd rip it open, you'd throw out the stuff, maybe you'd keep the instruction manual, but most of the time, you guys know how hard it is to find N64 box stuff, we just throw that stuff out. So the idea of not having that stuff, it didn't really matter, we already had the game. So they called and they said, hey, we broke the game, or we lost the game, or whatever, and they got it charged. I don't know, I was young, but I ended up, when I rented that game, I ended up just keeping it, you know, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. I would say a lot of people have like Mario Kart and Mario Party as like their, I grew up with that, playing that with like all my friends, GoldenEye as well, but for me, Pokemon Stadium was the game that I probably played the most. My friends, not my friends, well, my mother ran a home daycare. So she had a bunch of kids that were around my age in the house all the time. So we were able to have tournaments and we were able to play all together, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. That's definitely my most fond memory of Pokemon Stadium. More recently, I've done a Pokemon Stadium stream on my channel here, and we have gotten all the way to I think like the first do-over of the Duel Tower. Either way, this game is unbelievably hard if you're not playing with your own Pokemon. So this game has a, if you're not aware too much about Pokemon Stadium, it has every character in the game. However, they're capped out at level 50, and a lot of the fights allow you to use Pokemon that are level 50 to 55, and that's a very easy way to just have all the computer players Pokemon 55 while your rental Pokemon are 50. So you have to import them into the game. But there was this really cool... Sorry about that, guys. The battery died there. As I was saying, this game had this really cool transfer pack, and this is a Japanese version. But what this transfer pack allowed you to do was you could plug in your own Game Boy games. You could plug in your own Game Boy games and transfer them into your Nintendo 64. And back then, that was just the coolest thing. Being able to actually see your Pokemon in 3D was mind-blowing at the time. Another thing that I wanted to show you guys, I don't know if you knew about this, but there are actually 3 Pokemon Stadium. So here in North America, we only got 2, but in Japan, they got 3. So here's the first one. That's the first Pocket Monster Stadium. So this is just Pocket Monster Stadium. It never came out in North America. It never came out in North America. This essentially, when you play it, it's almost like a tech demo. It's very much a tech demo to what these games will be. But it is very interesting. There's only about 50, I think maybe 60 Pokemon in it in total. But it is a cool piece of history. It is a cool piece of history. And then it goes on to Pokemon Stadium 2 in Japan, and Pokemon Stadium 2 in Japan is what we would consider Pokemon Stadium 1. And then they have Pokemon Stadium 3, which is Pokemon Stadium Gold and Silver. So I think that's kind of neat. They've got 3. Keep in mind the first one very much is a tech demo. You're not going to get much fun out of it, but it is pretty cool to see the very very first time that Pokemon were in 3D. Very cool. Either way, guys, those are my memories. I've been doing the live streams, and this game's unbelievably hard. Unless you're doing importing your own characters, this game is unbelievably hard. If anybody out there can beat it on and with just rentals, let me know in the comments. How did you do it? How did you do it? And what team did you use? Please tell me, because I would love to do that. Guys, thank you so much for watching my video. It really means a lot to me. Merch time! Guys, I have merch. I have merch. Of course I have merch on my YouTube channel. Why wouldn't I have merch? God! Guys, consider buying some merch. It really helps the channel. Right now on the channel, I'm planning on biking across Japan for charity. What I'm doing is I'm collecting all of the YouTube money that I make, anything from donations, and also my merch sales. Anything from my merch sales, it's getting saved up, and it's going towards buying a bicycle. I'm going to use that bicycle to bike across Japan. And when it's done, I'm going to sell the bike and donate the money. So, guys, consider supporting me. I really, really appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for watching そばリビング